Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm back to break down this 11-game NBA DFS slate on DraftKings. Before we get into it, if you do enjoy the content at any point in this video, if you could please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell, I would greatly appreciate that. YouTube continues to tell me about 60% of my audience is not subscribed. So if that is you and you're returning to these videos, enjoying the content, or if you're new to the channel and you're liking what you hear throughout the video, if you could take 1 second to do that, that would be awesome. And then if you are interested in some further content from me, I do offer an NBA DFS Patreon package over here on Patreon where you can get access to my premium NBA projections, NBA data sheet, player stats, team stats, play contact stats, core plays, injury impact insights, and NBA Discord chat access. Getting a lot of good feedback from my current patrons over there, winning money night in and night out, so love to hear that. Check that out, link below in the description. And lastly, don't forget to stay tuned to the end of the video for my lock of the night. If you're new to the channel, segment I do every single video. Sometimes it's going to be a guy in the upper range, mid-range, lower range. I will be giving you the guy that I would most likely lock into 100% of my lineups. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start breaking this one down today. Detroit taking on Charlotte, first game on the slate. Right now, this game comes in with a 6-point spread in favor of the Charlotte Hornets. There is no over-under release yet. And as far as my interest in this one, LaMelo Ball is priced all the way up to $9K. They did announce that LaMelo will continue to be in the starting lineups, even when Devontae Graham returns. So expect him to continue to start. However, he is priced all the way up to $9K. Now, can he get you there at that price tag? Yes. But is it most likely? Probably not. And I'm probably not going to have too much interest in LaMelo on this slate with so many options. So probably not looking at him. And then you got Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, PJ Washington, all these guys going to be cutting into their usage a little bit with Devontae Graham returning. I do have a feeling, and they're all priced up a bit. So it's really a price tag thing in the matter of the fact that Devontae Graham will be returning. I expect him to cut into the minutes a little bit of these guys and kind of affect their recent production. So I will have more interest in the wings, guys like Gordon Hayward and PJ Washington, because I don't think they're going to be all too affected by Devontae Graham's return. So Gordon Hayward and PJ Washington at 7.5 and 6.7 are decent plays in this one. Taking out a Detroit team that does not scare me defensively. PJ Washington really coming on as of late, putting up 43-65. He had a big dud against Portland with only 9, but then put up 38 again the next game. So consistently going out there and putting up some pretty big performances. So he makes quite a bit of sense on this team. And then on the Detroit side, based on injury news, we will have some interest in these guys as well, because there continues to be some up and rising fantasy producers on their team, specifically Saddiq Bey, Josh Jackson, and Jeremiah Grant. There is no longer any Blake Griffin on this team. So these three guys at the forward position are really going to take on a lot more responsibility. And I do think that we're going to see a big uptick in fantasy production from them. So especially Josh Jackson and Saddiq Bey at 5'9 and 5'7. They both make a ton of sense in this one. And I do think that they're very valid mid-range plays. And then Mason Plumlee at 6'4. You expect him to get a lot more rebound upside. More chance to get some buckets with no Blake Griffin. Boston taking on Brooklyn, second game on the slate. Right now, this game comes in with a 3-point spread in favor of the Brooklyn Nets with a 233.5 over/under. So expected to be a fairly decent pace game, as are all Brooklyn games. And definitely going to have some interesting guys in this one. There continues to be no Kevin Durant, so we're going to look to playing Kyrie Irving and James Harden. Both these guys are going to have a ton of usage, continue to be great plays. Specifically, Kyrie Irving, we could definitely target him in a revenge narrative. Things with him and the Celtics didn't exactly end the best, so I'd expect him to want to put on a big show in this one. James Harden at 11K will always be a valid play with no Kevin Durant. Lately putting up 80 and 73 DraftKings points. But I would prefer Kyrie Irving based on the amount of a discount that we get to him. And like I said, with the whole Boston narrative, I do think that that's a thing, and I think that Kyrie is going to want to put on a big show. As far as on the Boston side, Marcus Smart will be back in this one, so that's going to affect a little bit of the usage that we've been seeing from guys like Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum. They do, however, get a very good matchup taking on this Brooklyn squad that has really struggled defensively, so all these guys do make a lot of sense on the slate. I would prefer probably the likes of Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, and Marcus Smart. The price tag decreased down from Jason Tatum. I just think that Jason Tatum priced up at 9.4 doesn't really make a lot of sense with all these guys coming back. I'd rather pay for the less expensive ones. And specifically, Marcus Smart, if he's a full go at 6K, I think that's a great bargain on him. He plans to return, and it's just interesting to see. If we see that he doesn't have any minutes limit, is what I'm getting at. I'll be all in. But if there's rumors or reports that he's going to be limited, maybe not. Then I'd be looking more so to Kemba Walker and Jaylen Brown. But all of these guys make a ton of sense in this one. Fast up-tempo matchup taking on this Brooklyn squad. They did acquire Blake Griffin. I don't think that Blake Griffin's going to be ready to make his appearance yet, so don't worry about that. So we're still looking at guys like Joe Harris and Jeff Green, especially if Jeff Green's out. Joe Harris as a wing shooter at 5'3" is a valid tournament dart alongside Bruce Brown. Those are the two guys that are going to be picking up those minutes. I would prioritize Bruce Brown over him. Bruce Brown, much more production as of late, putting up 34 and 38 DraftKings points the last 2 times out, just being out there producing at a much more aggressive rate than Joe Harris. So Atlanta taking on Toronto. This game right now comes in with a 2-point spread in favor of the Atlanta Hawks. There is no over-under release yet. We did get some injury news on this one. Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby going to be out. Cam Reddish and DeAndre Hunter continue to be out on the Atlanta side. So there is definitely some usage bumps to go around on both of these teams. Kyle Lowry, Norman Powell, and Chris Boucher are going to be very high priorities for me on this slate. It's very easy to lock these guys in. They get a great matchup taking on this Atlanta defense that's not good defensively. And with all these guys being out on their team, you know, they're just obvious plays. All 3 of these guys I feel very confident playing. They're going to be very, very big priorities for me, so I will repeat it again. Yeah, it's really that simple. They're short on bodies. These 3 guys, very good fantasy point per minute producers, and I think they're going to have huge games in this one. Then you mentioned the fact that OG Anunoby's out as well. It just makes a lot of sense. You could play an Aaron Baines. You could play a Stanley Johnson, a DeAndre Bembry down here if you want. All these guys could be viable tournament punts for sure. I mean, they could definitely get you there, but if you're not looking to get cute, I mean, we'll see how these guys grade out my final projections, but overall, the 3 that I could promise you I will be locking in a lot of lineups is Chris Boucher, Norman Powell, and Kyle Lowry. So definitely take note of that. Trae Young, Clint Capella, John Collins, Kevin Huerter on the Atlanta side, Danilo Gallinari. These main guys all make sense. There is no Cam Reddish, so Danilo Gallinari and Kevin Huerter continue to see a lot of wing minutes. Going to get plenty of shots, opportunities, and both priced in the mid 5K range, so definitely have interest in them. John Collins really ticking it up in his production recently. However, he's a guy that's just inconsistent across the board, and a lot of times he'll get himself in foul trouble. So play him if you want, but personally, I'd rather just be playing Kevin Huerter, Danilo Gallinari, and then Clint Capella and Trae Young at the top. The 2 main guys as far as Clint Capella being involved in the pick and roll, a lot of rebounds, and then Trae Young at 9'9". We all know what he's capable of as far as shooting the ball, and I do think that Toronto has a lot of guys out that help them on defense that will not be present. That could help Trae Young a lot in this matchup. So at 9'9", have no issues with paying up for Trae Young in this slate. Orlando taking on Miami. This game right now comes in with a 6.5-point spread in favor of the Miami Heat. There is no over-under release yet. And as far as the latest injury news is concerned, Bam Adebayo will be out in this one. Evan Fournier will be out in this one. Cole Anthony will be out in this one. So expect Kelly Olynyk to get the start at center. Aaron Gordon is listed as questionable. He's been out for quite some time now. If he's back, I'd still expect him to be on a minutes limit, so he won't take that much of an impact on this team. So I'm going to have interest in Nikola Vucevic, Terrence Ross, Michael Carter-Williams. Once again, a team that's short. You can lock these guys in and feel pretty confident about it. You know, when they don't have bodies, there's plenty of usage to go around, and they're going to rely on these guys heavily. So similar to the Toronto situation that we just talked about, I think this Orlando situation is very similar. You got Terrence Ross, Nikola Vucevic, Michael Carter-Williams. They're my 3 core plays as far as, you know, the guys that are getting the most minutes and producing the most fantasy points, so they make a lot of sense in this slate tonight. And then as far as anyone else on the Orlando side, you could play an Al-Farouq Aminu, you could play a Dwayne Bacon, you could play a Mo Bamba, I suppose, but these guys are going to be far less of interest to me. Just the minutes upside isn't there, and the fantasy point per minute upside isn't really there. I mean, Dwayne Bacon and Al-Farouq Aminu, if the minutes are there, I mean, they could do it. They can make it happen. Just not as confident as locking them in as I am as these other guys. You know, these other guys, it's like clear as day. Just lock them in, feel good about it. And then on the Miami side, as mentioned, there will be some more Kelly Olynyk minutes to go around at 5-1 with no Bam Adebayo. So I do think that Kelly Olynyk makes a lot of sense in this one. Last time out, putting up 45 DraftKings points, playing 37 minutes. That was a good matchup in the New Orleans Pelicans, but I don't think the Orlando side is going to be able to slow anyone down all too much either. Jimmy Butler is back, so Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, Goran Dragic are going to be kind of blended in. Not going to have as much interest in them. I'd have a lot more interest in just paying up for Jimmy Butler at 9.5. This guy's going to take on a ton of responsibility. Now there is no Bam Adebayo as well. Price in the mid 9K range and a guy that's been putting up consistently mid 50 to 60 DraftKings points. So You're not paying all the way up, like, for instance, paying up for Nikola Vucevic at 10-4, and you're still getting plenty of upside. So Jimmy Butler makes a lot of sense to me. New York taking on Milwaukee. This game is expected to be a blowout. Comes in with an 11-point spread in favor of the Milwaukee Bucks. 223 over-under, not expected to be fast and expected to be a blowout. So who you're going to play in this one is up to you, but I have a feeling I'm not going to have all too much interest in it. Really in anyone all around. If I'm playing anyone, I'm going to be playing the blowout narrative, and I'll be playing my RJ Barrett, Nerlens Noel, and on the New York side, I do have some more interest, so let's just stop before I get ahead of myself here. RJ Barrett at 6K and Nerlens Noel at 5'9". There is no Derrick Rose. There is no Taj Gibson, so these guys are going to continue to see a bunch of minutes. And on their side, they do make sense, as well as a Quickly and Alfred Payton playing from behind. So these guys are guys that are going to get minutes no matter what, even if it turns into a blowout, most likely. So I don't have an issue with playing them. However, on the Milwaukee side, I would be preferring to play a guy like a Bobby Portis or a Dante DiVincenzo at 4-5 and 5K. I think these guys could get more run if this game gets away, and I do think that they could produce at a very high rate based on their price tag. Bobby Portis specifically is a guy that I just love to be playing in games that are expected to be a blowout. Get a little bit of a revenge narrative here, taking on the former team, I suppose. And anytime this guy gets mid-20 minutes or so, he can just absolutely put up 40 DraftKings points in a real quick, real quick 2 possessions later, it feels like, and Bobby Portis has 40 DraftKings points. You get my point. So definitely be looking at him. GJ Augustine at 3-5 would be another candidate you could be playing in a blowout. But specifically in this game, honestly, if you're asking my opinion, play these Knicks guys that are going to be battling from behind. They'll get all the usage. Maybe not paying up for Julius Randle, though. Maybe just playing the mid-range guys. And then definitely have interest in Bobby Portis in the blowout. Been doing it all season long. Anytime Milwaukee's expected to be involved in the blowout, I love playing the guy. So be playing him. Minnesota taking on New Orleans. This is going to be a great game environment. This game right now comes in with a 239 over-under with an 8-point spread in favor of the New Orleans Pelicans. Expected to move very quickly, and I'm going to have a lot of interest in this one. Karl-Anthony Towns at 10K. Malik Beasley continues to be out. D'Angelo Russell continues to be out. This guy's going to be a fantasy point per minute monster. Hasn't really had a big game yet. 46, 50, 40, and 39. If there was going to be a game environment where he could do it, this would be the one. So definitely going to have some interesting cat. Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram taking on this Minnesota squad are going to be absolute smash plays as well. Love these guys. Lonzo Ball, Anthony Edwards dropping down to the next tier would be the next ones you're looking to play. Anthony Edwards is going to continue to get a lot of responsibility on the Minnesota side, and they're going to play him a lot of minutes, playing mid-30s to 40 minutes at 6'7". I love him as a play in this one. Lonzo Ball at 6'8". Don't sleep on him. He makes a lot of sense. And then Eric Bledsoe recently getting a lot more minutes as well at 5'6". Consistently playing, mid to 30s to upper 30s in minutes. And 39, 29, 37 DraftKings points. Last time he only played 26 minutes. I think that was more so a fact that it was the game before the All-Star break and they were trying to get him some rest. So, yeah, all of those guys that I just mentioned going to have a ton of interest in this one. The main core guys, it's going to be a fast, up-tempo game. Put them in your lineups to feel real confident about it. You could play a Steven Adams or Josh Hart of Vanderbilt as well down here in the mid 4K to 5K range. Just not feeling quite as confident in playing them when I could play it for these guys that I know are getting minutes and I know are going to be very high fantasy point per minute producers and a very high up-tempo, up-pace matchup. So definitely a lot of interest in those guys. Philadelphia taking on Chicago. Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons are listed as out in this one. It's a 3-point spread in favor of the Chicago Bulls. There is no over-under release yet, but we do know that there's going to be plenty of usage to go around on the Philadelphia side. Specifically, Tobias Harris at 8-1 is going to make a ton of sense. Chicago squad has not been good defensively all year long. Once again, we have another shorthanded squad here. We talked about Orlando. We talked about Toronto. Now we're talking about Philadelphia. Feel real confident playing these guys. Tobias Harris at 8-1. Dwight Howard at 5'3", Shake Milton at 5'3", Seth Curry at 5'2", Danny Green at 4'7". All of these guys are going to take on a lot more responsibility than they typically would. And all of these guys I feel very good about playing in my tournament lineups, filtering all these guys in. Very good fantasy point per minute producers. If I'm picking my favorites, it's kind of tough here, but Seth Curry, Shake Milton both make a lot of sense. Danny Green on the wing, I mean, you could play any of these guys. Based on fantasy point production, I would go with Shake Milton and Seth Curry over Danny Green, and then Dwight Howard at the center positions just makes a ton of sense because, I mean, he's a center. He's only 5'3". I love targeting the Chicago front court. They do not scare me at all. And yeah, I'm going to have a lot of interest in these guys on the Philadelphia side, so I think I made that clear. And then on the Chicago side, you got Zach Levine, Kobe White. Zach Levine continues to be priced up to 9.7. I think he's priced up a little too high for my likings in this matchup. Kobe White at 6.5 does make a lot of sense. In the mid-6K range, continues to get a lot of minutes, a lot of usage, so I like him. You could play Wendell Carter Jr., Thad Young if you'd like, especially if Otto Porter Jr. is out. He is currently listed as questionable. Going to have a lot more interest in those guys if he is out. So just keep an eye on that injury news. But yeah, definitely be playing some guys on the Philadelphia side for sure. Dallas taking on Oklahoma City. This game right now comes in with a 6.5 point spread with no over-under yet released. Dallas is the favorite in this one. I don't think that this is going to be exactly the best game environment. I mean, on the Oklahoma City side, maybe targeting a few guys taking on this Dallas team. Luka Doncic at 10.8, you could always play and have interest in putting up 57 DraftKings points last time out, playing 39 minutes. I'm not going to talk you off of Luka. It's just a matter of if you really want to play him at 10.8 over guys like, I don't know, like a Jimmy Butler, who we talked about earlier at 9.5. So that's for you to decide. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Al Horford, I do think are going to continue to be great plays on the Oklahoma City side, just based upon how heavily they're going to be leaned on in this offense, and specifically Al Horford, a guy that's getting up there in age after the All-Star break. I'd expect him to be fresh in this one, so I don't have any issues in playing him. Anyone else on the Oklahoma City side, they're starting to get pretty healthy here, so I'm not all too interested. I really want to lock in on those two guys on this huge slate. I don't really think it's necessary to get cute going down to any of these guys, and the same rule applies on the Dallas side, to be honest. You could play a Kristaps Porzingis at 8.5. He put up 49 DraftKings points last time. But he continues to be somewhat limited in minutes. I mean, playing mid-30 minutes is pretty respectable at this point. But typically on a back-to-back, I'd expect him to be more towards the 30 mark rather than the 40 mark. So probably just looking to play Luka, looking to play Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, looking to play Al Horford, and anyone else in this game I think is getting a little too cute on such a huge slate. Golden State taking on the Los Angeles Clippers. This game right now comes in with a 7.5 point spread in favor of the Los Angeles Clippers. There is no over-under release, but the Clippers are expected to win this one fairly easily. As far as what I'd be looking to in this one, on the Clippers side, it's Kawhi Leonard, it's Paul George. You don't really need to be looking at anyone else. These guys are so usage-heavy, ball-dominant heavy that I'm looking at them for sure. Paul George specifically at 8.5, late scratch last time out, I expect him to be back, is really intriguing to me. Similar to Jimmy Butler that we discussed earlier, I just think these guys' price tags are too cheap for their ability and upside, so I definitely will be having interest in him. Stephen Curry at 10.2, sure, you could play him. I think he's priced up a little too much for my liking. In a matchup taking on a Clippers team where there are some pretty good on-ball guards as far as defense is concerned, with the guys like Patrick Beverley and Reggie Jackson, so not all too interested in him. Draymond Green, Kelly Oubre continue to be great plays at 7.3 and 6.9. These guys have really seen their usage and ability or involvement in the offense really tick up. So I have no issue with you throwing them in the mid-range. Just, do we really want to go there on such a huge game, on a huge slate with teams that are shorthanded? You know, we can play like a Terrence Ross on the Magic. We can play a Norman Powell on the Raptors. So these are things you got to talk about. I keep bringing that up, but it's just true. These teams are shorthanded. I'd rather be going to them. And then we got like guys like Paul George and Jimmy Butler, who I've been talking about. So Houston taking on Sacramento. This game comes in with a 4.5 point spread. No over-under yet released. I'd expect this game to be a pretty fairly decent paced game. Both sides get pretty good matchups here. So we're definitely going to have some interest in both sides. Eric Gordon listed as questionable. Danny House Jr. continues to be out. Hassan Whiteside continues to be out. So feel pretty confident locking in the main guys in the rotation in this one. John Wall, Victor Oladipo both get great matchups in this one, taking on the Sacramento defense that does not scare me whatsoever. So both of them make a lot of sense at their respective price tags at 8.2 and 8.2. I'm going to get a lot of usage. There is no Christian Wood. There is no DeMarcus Cousins, especially if Eric Gordon's out. I would love them. I'll have no issue with playing a Jayshawn Tate as well. Down here at 5.5. I'm going to like a lot of these Rockets guys if Eric Gordon's out, and I like them overall just because of the matchup with Sacramento. They do not scare me. You could play a Justin Patton down here at 4.9. Now, he has seen a big price tag increase. I felt really confident playing him when he was only at like 3.2 and 4K. He's at the 4.9 now. It's not that he can't get you there. He could definitely still get you there based on his recent performances. Just not quite as easy to hit that button. And then you could be looking to a Sterling Brown, a PJ Tucker, if interested on the Houston side. Playing around 30 minutes. All these guys are going to make sense if there is no Eric Gordon. On the Sacramento side, you're looking to play Halliburton will be back, so he's going to directly affect a lot of these guys in the rotation, to be honest. Buddy Hield, Marvin Bagley, Harrison Barnes is probably the one I'd say isn't affected. And then Rashawn Holmes, with there being no Hassan Whiteside, I do think that he's still not going to be affected and is a great play in this one. But all of these guys are viable plays. I just think that you're only going to be able to play like 2 of them. You can't really be playing all these guys with Halliburton returning. So pick and choose who your favorites are. I do think that Harrison Barnes and Rashawn Holmes are going to be the ones that are less affected by his return compared to Buddy Hield. I think Buddy Hield could be affected by him. And De'Aaron Fox at 9-1, I don't think is affected by anyone in this rotation. He's the main dog. So if you're paying up, I do think that De'Aaron Fox makes a lot of sense on this slate for sure. Last game on the slate, Phoenix taking on Portland. This game comes in right now with a 2.5-point spread. No over-under yet released. There's a 10-7 price tag on Damian Lillard. Whether he's worth paying up that price tag for, I would say no, just based on the fact that the Phoenix defense has been pretty solid all around. He's going to have to take on Chris Paul defense, who is a pretty good defender, so I'm not really looking to go there. Chris Paul on the other side at 7-8, I do think is priced very reasonably, and he does get a great matchup taking on Portland, so I'd rather be playing him, especially if Devin Booker is out. He is likely to play, so regardless, I still like Chris Paul over Devin Booker, but if we find out that Devin Booker is out for some reason, I'll absolutely love him. And then as far as anyone else in this game, honestly, Enes Kanter and DeAndre Ayton, every time these guys have played off against each other, I have mentioned they're both pretty bad defensively, so I've interest in playing both of them. But it also comes down to a pace thing. And at their respective price tags, is this game going to be a fast enough pace? I do not know. And then recently playing each other, they both put up like 33 DraftKings points or so. Not going to blow you away, but I do think that the strategy is still there as far as both of them struggling defensively and playing both of them against each other. And then on the cheap end of this game, I will mention Jay Crowder at 4.7. Taking on this Portland squad that's not the best defensively. He does make a lot of sense. So that is my overall breakdown of this huge 11-game slate. Before I let you guys go, I got to give you my lock of the night. Let's get into it. And my lock of the night tonight is going to be Chris Boucher at this 6.5 price tag. Taking on this Atlanta squad with a big front court and John Collins and Clint Capella. I think they're going to need the services of Chris Boucher more than ever. Being shorthanded, no OG Anunoby, no Pascal Siakam. Taking on an Atlanta squad that really struggles defensively, and with the way this guy produces on a permanent basis, I'm going to absolutely love Chris Boucher in this one at this 6.5 price tag. Make sure to get him in your lineups because he is my lock of the night. So there you have it, guys. Chris Boucher, get him in your lineups. And that is all for me in this one. If you did enjoy the content, if you could please leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, that would be greatly appreciated. And if you are getting very serious about NBA DFS, go ahead and check out my NBA DFS package, link below in the description. That is all from me in this one. Wish you guys all the best of luck tonight, and we will see you in the next one.